Minister, utility bills are going through the roof right across the country. People are seeing their gas bills coming through the door with €600 and €700 totals. People are paying well over £1,000 to fill their oil tanks at the moment. And these are eye-watering figures. These are amounts of money that people simply don't have. And many people are going into debt trying to cover these costs. I know one woman in Meath who saw her natural gas bill treble from £187 to €628 in the space of 2 bills. The one SSE electricity bill I saw leap from €209 to €864 from one bill to the next. And if you add this to all the other costs that people are experiencing, for example, childcare, I know of a couple spending €1,300 per month on childminding services in Dublin, most families are really suffering with regards to their income and ability to spend. So in real terms, spending power has fallen by £2,000 just in the space of a year. So in real terms, people's incomes have fallen by about €2,000 in real terms in the space of a year. Now, I know people who have to change the way they're living at the moment to deal with that. I know people who are going without showers, people who are going without food, and people who are going without heat. I was speaking to an elderly gentleman just a couple of weeks ago who's getting rid of the landline from his house to be able to make sure that he can make ends meet for himself. Now, the government state on a regular basis that it is external factors that are at the heart of these price increases. But if you look at Ireland in comparison to other European countries, Ireland is an outlier in terms of the costs that many people are actually spending. So right now, Ireland is the 6th most expensive country in Europe in which to live. On rent, we are ranked 3rd most expensive, with only Switzerland and Luxembourg ranking ahead of us. And Dublin is the 4th most expensive city in terms of price in the whole of Europe. 3 Swiss cities beat Dublin at the top of the most expensive list. So right now, again, this government is presiding over a state which is at the worst element of the measurements with regards to the real experiences of people's lives. Now, so there are many levers that the government actually have in their own hand, and we've spoken about these levers. We've spoken about childcare, we've spoken about public services. I will thank the government for listening to one of Aintu's proposals a couple of weeks ago, where we asked for a reduction in the cost of public transport. But again, it was a meagre reduction when it could have been game-changing in terms of getting people into public transport and reducing the costs on people. VAT on fuel, I've asked the Minister a number of times, would he go to the European Union to seek for a derogation with regards to VAT rates in this state? The government the Minister and the Taoiseach have refused to do that. But carbon tax is another element in which the government have a lever in their own hands. Now, carbon tax is one of the most blunt tools that a government can use. The government sets a carbon tax years in advance of actually knowing the circumstances in which people will be living in. So think about it. Completely oblivious, completely blind to the actual cost of fuel and energy in people's lives in 2, 3 and 4 years, you've already set the tax that will be imposed on that. So fuel could actually double in price, and you would still plan to increase the carbon tax on that fuel in a number of years' time. Now, in any measure of fairness in tax, in any measure of the measurement of a tax to implement at a time, that has to be wrong. There is a problem there, and I will agree with Deputy Naughton in terms of this. In my view, there needs to be a ceiling. Market price plus carbon tax ceiling in which you do not go beyond, to make sure that there isn't a negative effect on the way people are living their lives at the moment. It's the whole purpose of a carbon tax, we're told, is to move people from that product through price to an alternative. But if the market has already achieved that price, adding to that price is purely punitive at that stage. It's not actually having any effect in terms of moving people away. People are still paying that price because they don't have an alternative, because they're locked into that fuel source or that energy source. It's punitive, it's hurting those families, it's reducing their ability to live. So I am asking the government to take into consideration our objective here. Our plan is a ceiling between the market price and the actual carbon tax, over which you will not go year to year, to make sure that average families are not penalised into making sure that they can't pay for what they need in their lives.